Greetings and happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to one and to all. Prayerfully, everyone is having a good day. Give yourselves a round of applause for making it to and through another day. I do not plan on being here long. However, I wanted to discuss this story that I've seen quite a few people report on, which is absolutely amazing. And I encourage more. I'm actually here in the DC area. Greetings. Yes, happy vlogs. How are you? Happy Tuesday, or perhaps it is Wednesday, depending upon where you are on the globe. As I mentioned, I'm actually here in the Washington, D.C. area, and have quite a very good bird's eye view of some of the things that have been going on. So, there was an executive order in which President Donald Trump, who you see in this thumbnail, has requested and deployed the National Guard here in the nation's capital, which is Washington, D.C., to help combat crime and the homeless situation. So I need to try to pen something really quickly. Give me one quick moment. I don't know if I'll be able to do it or not, but I'm going to try. Thank you. Yes, happy vlogs. And hello to you as well. Those of you that may come in, greetings and welcome. And greetings and welcome to those who may catch the replay. So let me try something really quickly. Hold on real quick. Okay. What I placed there is a link to the live where I actually was downtown DC today watching the peaceful protests and those that were there in front of the White House. And I was blessed to be able to speak to a few people there and get their opinions of some of the things that are going on. So, first, I want to put this up because there are a lot of people that are thinking that the ideology behind deploying 800, I believe that's the number, 800 members of the National Guard, there may be a little bit more behind that. So let's look at this really quickly. And again, I implore you always, always, always to conduct your own thorough, meticulous research. And after I am complete, if anyone has anything they would like to say or add, you're more than welcome. But this states, according to an analysis by CNN journalist Daniel Dale, crime in Washington has declined significantly since a spike in 2023 where 274 unalivings were recorded, the highest number in more than 2 decades. Let me capture this comment. Hey there, Hood TMZ, how are you? Happy Tuesday. Good to see you, and blessings to you. Next, we have a preliminary analysis of the Washington Metropolitan Police Department, and that is, those are the big dogs basically here in Washington, D.C., confirms this trend. Overall crime has also decreased so far in 2025, which is 2025, in line with the sustained decline seen in other major United States cities, to include New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Mayor Muriel Bowser, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser, which I have said so many times I do not care for at all. Not personally, because I don't know her personally. However, some of the decisions that she has made, I don't see how they have been for the betterment of those residents in DC. Some of you may say, well, why are you saying that? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'll show you a real quick clip. Now, yes, there's a crime problem, and yes, there's a problem with the homeless, but DC is not the only place with these issues. Excuse me for a moment. Knowing this, having love for your city, as DC Mayor Muriel Bowser has stated time and time again, knowing that there is a population in Washington, D.C. that is impoverished, especially Ward 8, and I'll get to that in a moment. Oh, Mississippi Mocha. Oh, sweetie, thank you. Welcome, and tell the poo poo show I said hello, but thank you, Mississippi Mocha. Blessings to you so much. But as I was mentioning, and tell Bobby I said hello. I don't know if he's live or not, but I'll be checking to see if he is, because this is really, really, really important. Because if this can be done here, as I mentioned before, it could be done anywhere. So people may ask, well, or why are you so tough on DC Mayor Muriel Bowser? And notice I have not said anything about DEI hires or anything like that. To me, I don't see that. That's not the issue that I have. The issue that I do have is this, and you can take it how you like it. Now, number one, most of you that have followed me, you all know that I am an avid, avid sports fan, and my team happens to be the Dallas Cowboys, even though I'm here in the DC area. But this is the problem that I have with DC Mayor Muriel Bowser. Washington Commanders have announced, and this was recent, ladies and gentlemen, a deal to bring the team back to Washington, D.C. with a new stadium to be built at the RFK Stadium site. This marks a return for the team, which previously played at RFK Stadium from 1961 to 1996. Now, they did this huge move out to Landover, FedEx Field, and now they've inked a deal, so it seems from this, which includes, ladies and gentlemen, your eyes are not deceiving you, a 2.7 billion to $1.7 billion investment from the commanders and what? A $1.1 billion investment from the city for the new stadium. And up in the right-hand corner, our head might be cut off a little bit, but that is DC Mayor Muriel Bowser. So, Madam Mayor, how is it that you are aware, you, ma'am, are aware of the poverty in Ward 8, the dilapidated buildings in Ward 8, the youth crime in Ward 8, but you're okay with a commitment of $1.1 billion as an investment from the city. Where's the city going to get this? If you can commit to a $1.1 billion investment for football, and for you football enthusiasts out there, I'm sorry to have to say this, and trust me, again, I love football. Do not get me wrong. I need to find the actual text where I saw this and heard it. Actually, I heard it from one of my favorite sports commentators here on YouTube. His name is Lobo. You might want to check him out. Awesome fellow. Actually, he's been on my channel a couple of times, but I forgot the name of the book. The NFL, again, correct me if I'm wrong, is being considered or thought to be entertainment now. So again, we look at wrestling, same thing. If you love it, and I love wrestling too, or wrestling as we used to call it, just keep in mind that that's what it is. But back to you, Madam Mayor. You do realize that Washington, D.C. has undergone a massive, and I do mean massive, sweep, if you will. And that sweep has been gentrification. Now, prior to you sitting in that mayoral seat, we had the late former, again, the late former DC Mayor Marion Barry. And for those Washingtonians or those familiar with Washington, D.C., you will know that Marion Barry got caught red-handed in a hotel with a woman who was not his spouse, and I'll just say he was cracking up, and it was caught on film. And they actually made t-shirts out of this incident because he was actually heard on the film. And you all can Google this because I am not embellishing, not one bit. He actually said that B set me up, and there were t-shirts made at that time. Marion Barry, and I'm going to say this, he was and still is beloved by many in Washington, D.C., some in Maryland, and some in Virginia. And many still refer to him, even though he is no longer with us, D.C. Mayor for life. Marion Barry, even though he had those issues, did a lot for the city and opened up a lot of programs for the youth, especially the summer jobs program. I remember that as a little girl, and that's what a lot of people remember. Moving on. Last year, Trayon White, council member of Ward 8, found himself caught up. And when I say caught, that's exactly what I mean. Caught on film, video, and audio, allegedly, and I must say that to be prudent and responsible. Caught, allegedly, taking bribes. Again, this has been under the watch of, again, DC Mayor, current DC Mayor Muriel Bowser. Ward 8 Councilmember Trayon White was arrested last year. As a matter of fact, I want to say August. Again, for allegedly taking bribes from an undercover informant as it relates to city contracts for youth interrupter violence program. The amount that they were alleging was somewhere around 135,000 in cash, and there is a whopping, and I do mean whopping, court case, and he will not go to trial until next year. Trayon White, I believe, is 41, 42 years old, very young individual, was arrested and released, of course. He was also expelled from his council member seat just a few short weeks ago when they held a special election. His name was on the ballot and he won again. The same as, I kid you not, former and the late DC Mayor Marion Barry. After he paid his dues to society for being caught doing illegal things, he ran for re-election and the people voted him back in. So is Washington, D.C., which was known at one time Chocolate City. Keep in mind what I just said. Is Washington, D.C., which was once known as Chocolate City, under siege? Or is this an attempt to distract or get the pressure off of other things that are going on within this current administration? Let's take a look, a little quick trip down memory lane, shall we? Former DC Police Chief Charles Ramsey. I actually ran into him years ago when the McDonald's on I Street was still up. That's long gone. Very, very kind gentleman, but the crime rate was actually at close to an all-time low at the time under his regime. Again, that's Charles Ramsey. Hey there, Sister Joy. How are you? Happy Monday or happy Tuesday, Blessings, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you. Hopefully, you're doing okay there in the Philippines. It is warm today. Not as bad, but it's pretty warm right now. It was hot earlier. So, next, just another quick trip down memory lane. Another former DC police chief, very popular, no nonsense, Kathy Lanier. And for those of you that are interested in what's going on, I would suggest or encourage you to do your research on some of these people that I'm putting up as it relates to their tenure. And again, the crime rate when they were at the helm. Next, I actually know this gentleman, former DC police chief Peter Newsham. He's now in Virginia. But another police chief that was in Washington, D.C. If you're looking at the, and I didn't pin it, so I'm going to pin it, so give me a moment. Hopefully you can see it, but I just pinned a live that I did, and that is where you see so many people from many different countries that are there. There are some that are in support of this, and there are others that are not. There was a gentleman who said that they are going to have a Sikh prayer for President Donald Trump on August 17th, 2025, on the National Mall. And I'll put that in the chat. Sikh or Sikhism. And he was from India, so they, or at least that particular group, is in full support. And as if anyone saw that video, and I spoke to a couple of people there, he said that he's in support of President Trump and he would like to help in making America great again. Last weekend, I was in front of the White House and there were protests going on. And just around the corner, I kid you not, I went live, but I took that down. Right around the corner, there was a homeless encampment. As a matter of fact, the exact location was 13th and New York Avenue. and it was a Caucasian male who I am not sure what happened to him, but he was inside of the encampment, but they cordoned that off and they moved him over. And when I say they, I mean the Washington, D.C. police, the fire, emergency services, and first responders. And they worked tirelessly to bring him back to life. However, their efforts, again, tireless, were unsuccessful. And the young lady unfortunately had to bring out the sheet, and that really that did something to me. I did not keep that up, but I did put a short up and just spoke about how unfortunate it was to see so many people in these situations. And contrary to what many comments that I've seen about brown and black people, the individual who I witnessed take his last breath what was not brown or black, it was a Caucasian man, but it was an Asian woman in front of me. Their homelessness is not devoid of color. And one really doesn't know the story why a lot of people are in those situations. But there could be many reasons why, many reasons why. And these encampments are not just in Washington, D.C., they're in Maryland. They are in some of the most astute, affluent areas in Maryland, such as places in Prince George's County and Montgomery County. Not only do you see homeless men and women, you actually see entire families. So I'm not really sure if there is a plan under this administration as to what is going to happen to these individuals. Do they have shelters, or or have they had conversations with facilities that are willing to house those who are homeless that want to be housed? Because we also know, or I believe many people realize, that some people don't want to be in shelters. And depending upon the management, how they're run, I can understand why. But I have to go back to this little slide. If Muriel Bowser, the current mayor, can make a commitment for $1.1 billion investment from the city for a brand new state of the art or refurbishing of RFK, what does that say? And I'm just asking a question. What does that say? Is this stadium, Madam Mayor, more important than those who are out on the streets? Those that may end up on the streets from someone merely walking down the street and not extinguishing their cigarette properly, and it causes a fire. What if some type of electrical situation happens in an apartment building, and several apartment buildings are affected, and you end up with displaced families. They're displaced, but they're going to be homeless as well. So, are there plans? Have there, during your talks, Madam Mayor, is there a SOP in place for these unforeseen situations? And what I mean by that, is there a standard operating procedure in place for these things? We are in hurricane season, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with that. And this region has seen some strange weather as it relates to high winds and rains. And in some of these buildings, as old as they are, buildings in Southeast and Southwest Washington that are old and the owners have not preserved them the way that they should. See, a heavy rain comes and causes damage, to include mold and toxins, where the tenants have to leave. Again, you're looking at displaced families who, for all intents and purposes, will also be homeless. So, again, what do you do? What is the plan? What are the plans? Are there any plans for situations such as those? Madam Mayor, you said at least 3, 4 years ago that you were going to request a package that would put more funds to have more officers out on the streets. So, if that were the case, and if that plan and those appropriations were made, what is the purpose for almost 800 troops that, as reports were stating, arrived in Washington, D.C. this morning, which is Tuesday? I don't understand that. And according to reports, and again, I implore you to do your research, your office was a bit taken aback because you didn't know about this move. So, if this is true, and again, I cannot attest to whether this is accurate or not, but let's just say it is accurate. What does that say about the level of trust, or what's going on behind the scenes with the federal and the district government? Because if you weren't aware of this, and I took just a quick peep at your press conference, you you didn't look like you were on the up and up. Yes, you kept your composure, but obviously you were not happy with that. Now I understand home rule and the 30 days. However, Donald Trump, in essence, unless something happens, can request longer if he feels as though there's a reason to. And I want everyone to keep something in mind because, as I said, if you look and do your research, please, levels are down. I mean, I'm on the road often. Trust me. And I know what I see. Just like I was on the mall today and in front of the White House, I did not see not one. Not to say they couldn't have been someplace where I didn't see them, but I didn't see any cameras from ABC, NBC, MSNBC, or CNN. I didn't see any of those. For all intents and purposes, things aren't as bad as they were years ago. Now, does that say things are not happening? Absolutely not. But is this really an emergency? Or is there something else going on that we're not quite being told? I heard the word distraction used quite a bit. And again, it is being reported, and again, fact check, that these troops will not be arresting individuals. They're just here to assist in keeping law and order. The question is, again, September the 25th is the day when they are slated to leave. We have a dark, dark anniversary earlier on in that month. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, September the 11th. September the 11th. Now, technically, today being August the 12th, and this is just how my mind thinks, with the way things have been going on and some of the communications with other countries and the heightened tensions, again, I'm not privy to the JTTF, and that is the Joint Terrorism Task Force. But if, again, I'm just talking, if there were any chatters or murmurings of anything being planned, then that indeed would make sense to have extra forces or extra boots to the ground, because of that, ladies and gentlemen, would indeed fit under an emergency situation. Am I implying that is the case? Absolutely not. I'm just saying it could be a possibility, because right now, in my humble opinion, and I'm going to be doing more drives around because I'm out late anyway, and I'm going to go through some of the wards like 8 and 7 just to show some of you all. Hey there, mommy, how are you? Happy Tuesday, or perhaps it is Wednesday, depending upon where you are on the globe. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. And I'm going to drive around and take some footage. Again, just about a month ago, I was there as well. I took some footage. There was a mass overdose 27 people in Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore, Maryland is no more than 25 to 30 minutes from Washington, D.C. Do you know there are Narcan boxes and test strips on leaves of trees? You understand that those items are used to try to reverse the effects of or try to stop an OD. But I would think, and again, this is just me, more effort would be placed into helping people conquer these addictions because that can lead to the increasing homeless population, the loss of employment is another factor in the homeless population. There are so many things. Do I understand? There was a clip, and President Trump said that he was told as a child that if you are about to enter the door of a restaurant and the door is dirty on the outside, then more than likely the kitchen is dirty, which means the house is dirty. So that is his analogy as it relates to the Capitol and Washington, D.C. I can tell you personally, it irks me when I see people that are able bodied that can discard their trash and containers of food after they're finished, just leave them there for other to pick up or for the birds or cats or ants or whatever insects to devour. Not only does it make the neighborhoods look horrible, it brings the property value down. So I get that. But we do not want to get into a situation where we are stereotyping everybody because of what they may look like at a certain time in their life. Again, we don't know what people are going through and how long they may be going through it. We don't know. But that is a pet peeve of mine. And I cannot tell you how it angers me. Again, there are some people, not all, but there are some people that just don't care. They feel as though if they don't own it, they'll throw chicken bones, or um, if they're eating chips, they'll throw bags just right there where they are. Soda bottles, empty cigarette boxes. And these are in all areas, not just one. You don't see them in certain places all of the time, but you see them. So I do not want to get into, and nor do I agree with the stereotypes. There are many things that we all individually should be doing to make sure that the areas in which we live and frequent, we keep clean. Sometimes you see these discarded pieces of trash left by people who don't even reside in the area. It's a mindset, in my opinion, that people have. So we must change that. One person at a time. So, as I mentioned, I will be making more trips in and around the city. We know what it looks like in front of the White House. And towards the end of the video, you'll actually see a homeless Caucasian man on the grass, maybe 100 feet away from the White House. So, again, is Washington, D.C. truly under siege? Will this effort, deploying 800 troops from the National Guard that have been slated to be here until September 25th, change the numbers as far as it relates to the crime rate that, according to many of the statistics, have been declining? Or is there something more that we just aren't aware of just yet? Again, you can do your research and check statistics and check the statistics of how these numbers were when Chief Ramsey, Chief Lanier, and Chief Newsom was in office. Former Mayor Marion Barry was in office during the horrible epidemic in the 80s and 90s that took DC by a storm. Again, you all can do your research on that. And again, last year, Ward 8 council member Treon White was arrested for federal bribery charges, which alleged that he accepted over $135,000 in cash as it relates to city contracts. Again, all of this is under the watch of DC Mayor Muriel Bowser, who, in my opinion, should be audited. That entire regime needs to be audited. We shall see in the coming weeks if there have been significant changes due to the deployment of the National Guard here in Washington, D.C. And if statistics, and we have to be careful with statistics depending upon who prepares them, if there's a significant, and I mean significant, drop in the crime rate and the sightings of the homeless almost slim to none, will the deployment of the National Guard come to a city near you? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to those who gave a thumbs up and those that catch the replay, your thoughts and opinions. And again, thank you to Mississippi Mocha for your blessings. May they be returned abundantly. Until next time, everyone, please be safe, be well, and you know the rest. Be healthier. Until next video. Bye bye for now.